The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Edge. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico Haan and Paige Clarke.
Good morning. I'm Nico Haan. Welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
That's right, Nico. I'm Paige Clarke, and this is where we also recover our natural health and regain our rights and freedoms.
And it's a beautiful day in downtown Clearwater. It's 67 degrees, going up to about 80 degrees, clear skies. It's springtime and still nice and cool here.
That's right. I enjoy this time of year, except for the traffic.
That's true. If people want to get down here, and they do, they come down and see us.
Hey, make sure and get our Health Signals newsletter, nice, good one that we have, always packed with great articles that you can keep up with. Nico and I spend hours researching information to talk about on the show, but we put some other stuff into the newsletter that you don't want to miss.
This is how you can find out the biggest lie in history of nutrition right on the front page of the Health Signals newsletter. Remember, it's only $10 a month, folks. 2 issues a month on the first and third Tuesday of every month.
That's right.
Of course, we always invite you to pick up our Primal Edge, our one-shot wonder. $89 brings it to your door every single month. Has over 310 cell-ready liquid ingredients, all powered by our favorite things. What are those, Paige?
Fulvic and humic, because they help get the good stuff in and the bad stuff out of your cells, so you can have true cell health.
That's right.
So give us a call or email us, Paige at TFNN.com or Nico at TFNN.com, and you call us at
877-927-6648 if you're one of the early birds out. So today, a lot of times...
My favorite topic.
Yeah, the sun. Because we do talk a lot about the sun. I found this great article from Green Med Info. And it talks about the different properties of sunlight that we probably don't think about too much, and there's over 200 of them, which I had no clue.
I love that picture. Any way you can put that on the telestrator,
so.
I love it. It's a forest with sunlight.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So sunlight is well known to provide vitamin D, but you know that it kills pain, keeps us alert, burns fat, and many more things.
Yeah, let's talk about these things. I think a lot of people are not giving the sun the kudos it deserves.
Well, certainly in our modern society, we kind of shy away from it, not just because we have buildings, but we have this kind of monster out there that's burning us. And
exactly. If we live in that upside-down world, you and I always talk about.
You know, here's the sun that was really worshipped by our ancient people, the Son of God, in a sense.
Correct.
The original, and it rose every day and set every day. It gave us life. It gave us the food that we eat.
Kept us warm.
It kept us warm. And one of the things in here it says, too, it determines our lifespan, the length of our lifespan.
I've been studying a lot of that. Remember I told you about those 2 T.S. Wiley books I've been reading,
yes.
Sex, Lies, and Menopause, and Lights Out. Just fascinating stuff about, as I've always said, our eyes are clocks, not just cameras. So, our biological connection and dependence to the sun is so profound, Nico,
yes, it is.
that the very variation in human skin color from Africa, which is melanin-saturated dark skin, to the relative melanin depigmented Caucasian lighter skin, is a byproduct of the offspring of our last common ancestor from Africa.
Yeah, determined by our DNA.
Mitochondrial DNA.
Mitochondrial DNA,
which is
not the nuclear.
Not the nuclear, but the
this one comes
mitochondria,
from
which
your mother.
only from mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we left Africa and then went to a more northern type of climate, our skin changed because the sun was not as bright, and certainly if we're
And the
going through
mitochondria made the energy changes to absorb that. Yeah.
And of course, in those days, they may have been going through a grand solar minimum like we have now, which makes the sun shy away even more, and hence we get over generations the lightening of the skin. And boy, it got really light. I mean, when we talk about Holland and the Vikings and places where I'm from originally, we were very light, and probably one
There's
of the...
the removal of the natural sunscreen, which is what melanin is from the skin, and that interferes with vitamin D production, and vitamin D, of course, is a hormone, not necessarily a vitamin. It's involved in the regulation of over 2,000 genes, and therefore it's more like a hormone without all the nuclear genetics infrastructure becoming destabilized.
Yeah, so as we went farther north, the natural sunscreen that we had, which was the darker skin, which was filled with this compound, melanin, which is the sunscreen. So we were naturally sunscreened. So now when we travel to places like Florida and even hotter places where the sun is more pronounced, us white people really have to be careful and take it slow.
We have to build up our sun callus, as Jack Kruse says. Yes. It's a sun callus. You've got to build up, stimulating those melanin cells, and also build up that tan, which is actually protective.
Yeah, and when you can see the difference between the skin colors of the people at different latitudes, it kind of gives you a clue that nature is a beautiful thing. Now, the white people were probably very strange to the people who are dark.
I would think so.
And same thing. I remember living in Canada. Of course, living in Holland, I don't remember too much of the black people, but in Canada, occasionally we see a black person here and there, maybe more now that it's 30, 40 years later. But when I moved to Detroit, oh my goodness, half the people were black, and that was a big culture shock for me.
Sure.
And I thought that was pretty cool, because I remember one of the coolest guys I'd ever met was a black guy in London, Canada, and him and my sister were very good friends. And one of the things I noticed, too, about that culture, too, is that each culture, when I went into their home, the smell was different. The black people had different foods. Yeah, it had to do with the food and whatever else they were using. But I had Polish friends and German friends, and each house smelled different. I'm sure they thought the Dutch guy had a different smell too.
Oh, sure, sure.
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, that is true. You notice that when you go in people's house, but remember the power of olfaction. Olfaction is the power of scent. It's tied to memories.
Certainly is.
Certainly is. So,
and you know, when I hear a song, a lot of times I have that smell that when I first heard that song. It's like an old smell.
Whether it be the orange blossoms blooming, I have a lot of that happening from 75, when I moved here in 75, and, you know, being a little preteen and listening to the popular music station and hearing, you know, but anyways, let's get back.
Okay.
While the health benefits of vitamin D are well documented, and we always encourage you all to visit greenmedinfo.com. Great research to support, you know, they put their money where their mouth is, guys, because vitamin D has GreenMed Info has identified over 200 health conditions that may benefit from optimizing vitamin D levels.
Yeah, we're going to go over just 5 of these, but if you go to GreenMed Info, of course, this will be in the next newsletter, so you can dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, because actually it's more than, it's actually more than just the benefits that are provided by vitamin D. These are 5 that I think a lot of you may not be aware of, so stick with us.
Yeah. The number here is 877-927-6648, and of course we always invite you to pick up our Primal Edge, so please stick around.
Be right back after this short break.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Back to the show. You know, while the health benefits of vitamin D are well documented, and Green Med Info, where we're getting this information from, has over 200 health benefits for getting this into your system, sort of staying out in the sunlight. We want to just go over 5 big ones. And the first one is huge, which I kind of knew this, I guess, superficially, but now that I see it in printing, is sunlight has pain-killing analgesic properties. And I told you a little story about my buddy Rick. That when he was ever at work, and he's a PA, physician's assistant, he's now retired, and he would always tell me, he says, I go home for 20 minutes, I lay in the sun, all my pains and everything go away. And this is something, he says, that recharges me.
Well, and this is my concern. You know, people have created so much phobia around the sun, and it concerns me when I see these young mamas slathering sunscreen all over their children, floppy hats, sunglasses, umbrellas, and everything. Guys, we have to use common sense. We have to look for physical shade. I like the umbrella, you know. I like the umbrella. But, you know, take a picture in your mind of seniors. You know, many of them in nursing homes, they have no sun on their skin. They're white and pasty, but then you take a look at some of these seniors you see walking on the beach, and, you know, people might have made fun and said, oh, their skin looks like leather. I'd much rather have leather wrinkled skin than pasty white skin.
Well, there's another thing to consider when the solar minimum comes every 11 years, and it changes the sunspots to being less sunspots. Then we get more intense radiation from space. So the atmosphere, or a magnetosphere, which buffers everything, isn't there as much. So the cosmic rays come through. So it's not, and the sun does have cosmic rays too. So
what does that mean?
That means that it means that you got to protect your skin, is what it means. So that there are harmful rays out there, and the UV rays that come in right now are pretty high. We're counting at 12 and 13 when we know that 8 is extreme. So we're way over the top, so we do have to be careful. Again, if you use what you always tell me, that morning sun and the late sun, those things are not as harmful.
Well, you still have to get within the range where you make vitamin D, and the app D-Minder will tell you that based on your latitude, longitude, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, when I say the early morning sun, we are not making vitamin D in the early morning sun.
Okay.
But we are getting important UVA. And UVA is very important for many other hormone synthesis in our body. Same thing after, say, well, in Florida up till 6, 7 o'clock, even in the summer, the heat of summer. But like say right now, I think it's around 3 or 4 o'clock that the vitamin D synthesis disappears, but we're still getting valuable infrared A.
And that would be the reverse too.
The red lights.
It would start at late morning then, probably 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yeah, around 11 o'clock. Well, I mean, again, it depends on where you're at.
Of course, yeah.
But remember, the sunrise sun has frequencies that we need, and it has nothing to do with vitamin D. And that's why I like this article, Nico, because it's not just about vitamin D. That's what these benefits are. We know there's over 200, as Green Med Info says, that are related to vitamin D, but these are 5 that are kind of unique, as you mentioned. It has analgesic properties. The effects of sunlight on post-operative analgesic medication use. A prospective study of patients undergoing spinal studies showed that when they used the sun, they had better results. So really, those people that get out and move in the sun, we're getting charged up by nature's charger. So, and we're going to feel better and have less pain. But number 2 is
sunlight
dear to my
burns
heart. Sunlight burns fat.
Yeah, this was published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology, revealed remarkable facts about her metabolism, that the exposure to human skin to UV light increased the subcutaneous fat metabolism. So that fat was starting to burn because that sun is there giving it the energy.
Waking it up and saying, hey, let's use some of you.
Yeah.
While the subcutaneous fat, unlike visceral fat, think visceral as being very dangerous. Visceral fat is not considered a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. It is known that a deficiency of one of sunlight's best known beneficial byproducts, which is the vitamin D, is associated with greater visceral fat. So it is, when you are low in vitamin D, you're more likely to store the more dangerous kind of fat. There's also a solid body of research, Nico, that says that vitamin D deficiency is linked to obesity. And
yeah, and this is just one more thing. In our society today, not only is the food bad, but we're getting less sunlight. We're getting less of the things that we need because we're not outside as much.
That's right. So the sun is your friend. Just be smart, just like you would take your friends in doses, right? In healthy doses.
That's a good way of putting it. That's for sure.
So, number 3.
Number 3 is sunlight by way of the solar cycles may directly regulate human lifespan. And this was published in 2010 in the Journal of Medical Hypothesis.
And it was titled, The Effects of Solar Cycles on Human Lifespan in the 50 United States. Variation in light affects the human genome. And these researchers reviewed the possibility that the solar cycles, Nico, directly affect the human genome. And that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it kind of indicates that where you were born in that cycle will determine how long you live your natural life. So I have to dig up in 1944.
Well, listen, this has to do with the solar cycles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have to look up in 1944 and see what solar cycle we were in at that time.
Oh, will you look mine up too? 62?
Okay.
Okay. So in the current study, these people reported that those persons conceived and likely born during the peaks, or max approximately 3 years of the approximate 11-year solar cycles, lived an average of almost 2 years less than those conceived and likely born during non-peaks.
So if you're born now during the minimum, you may have a better chance of living longer. And there's another interesting thing that I was talking about to somebody, that when we're going through these periods where the high radiation comes in, this is when genetic changes take place in species. All of a sudden, a different horse appears, or a different human being may appear from a natural birth.
Or the change in the Homo sapien.
Maybe consciousness type of thing, and so there's a lot of things on the web.
A lot of it.
But I thought that was interesting too.
I think that's a really good point. So, increased energy at the solar max, although it's relatively a small increase from the minimum, apparently modifies the human genome and engenders changes that predispose to various diseases, thereby shortening the lifespan. It is likely that the same energy increase is beneficial variety in the genome, which may enhance adaptability in a changing environment.
Yeah,
the sun knows what's going on, guys.
Yeah. Sunlight exposure, therefore, may directly affect the length of your life and even may accelerate genetic changes that may confer a survival advantage of some kind.
Exactly, exactly. And number 4, folks, is daytime sunlight exposure improves evening alertness. We've now that's interesting because we also know that daytime sunlight exposure also
gives you the melatonin.
Is what produces the melatonin that you later release that helps you to get sleepy. But I think they're talking about throughout the day. When you start your day with a charge from the sun, you're going to have a more productive day.
That makes sense to me, too.
And number 5, sunlight may convert to metabolic energy.
Which means you're digesting things better, means your skin is working a lot better. I guess all your organs work a lot better because of the sunlight that it's getting.
Well, that's interesting, too. Maybe I'd like to continue discussing more about metabolic energy in the sun and how melanin, we have melanin in our skin, we have melanopsin in our eyes. Folks, this is really key to staying healthy. Stay with us.
We'd like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about The Tiger's Den. The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of the TFNN shows, plus see all of the charts as they happen live and have access to archives of all of those charts. You can test drive The Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days and greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets and how to make your money work for you. Details on The Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And welcome back, folks. You know, it's been a long-standing assumption that animals are incapable of utilizing light energy directly is now called in question. In other words, our skin may contain the equivalent of melanin, the solar panels, and it may be possible to ingest energy as plants do directly from sun, something you've been telling me about.
For years.
And I've never seen it, but it does make sense on this level that...
there are some yogis that have lived for 10 years without eating food, just on the sun's energy. Yeah, so in fact, guys, what we do know, Jack Cruz was explaining to us that we have melanopsin in our eyes, but we have melanopsin in our skin. We literally have receptors. We are like a human solar panel. But folks, melanin, the pigment, has a diverse set of roles in various organisms. I've mentioned a couple times to you guys about my Qigong teacher, Jeff Primack. He's really gone down the rabbit hole on the power of pigments and why certain pigments enhance our life and well-being. And it is true, the black pigment, or the dark purple black pigment, is very powerful. So from the ink of the octopus to the melanin-based protective colorings of bacteria and fungi, melanin offers protection against a variety of threats, from predators, okay, and similar biochemical threats, to UV light and other chemical stressors, heavy metals, etc., etc. But commonly overlooked, however, is melanin's ability to convert gamma rays and ultraviolet radiation into metabolic energy within living systems. So pigment creates energy. So the black-skinned person is able to use that melanin to create energy. And I mentioned to you on the break, and I'm remembering part of it, but there's a lot of research being done about the substantia nigra in the brain, center of the brain. It's the black pigment in the brain. And what we know is those are the people that are that have less substantial nigra, the blondes, the fair-skinned people, are more at risk of Alzheimer's and not as safe from that kind of brain degeneration as we just kind of read previously. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah. Melanin has diverse set of roles in various organisms, and you mentioned the octopus.
So maybe going down here, you know, single-celled fungi have been observed thriving within their collapsed nuclear reactors at Chernobyl, using gamma radiation as a source of energy, because they were able to use the power of their pigment.
And also there's various animals, a lot of voles and coyotes and wolves that are thriving there. There's a lot of plants that are thriving there. So maybe they've adapted to get that energy from the spilled off radiation, and they figure it out a different way.
So think of, I'm sort of tying this together with the grand solar minimum, more gamma radiation coming in, right?
Exactly.
So we need to build up our solar calluses. We need to have more tans, not slather ourselves with sunscreens
that
to
would
become,
make sense.
You know.
But it's also the thing that they're saying here too. These are the types of things that happen to change a species, to maybe advance it a little bit more, maybe it retards it a little bit more. But in what they're saying is that most of the large advances of different species happen during these types of times when there's less sunspots.
This is actually really cool stuff. So here's some more info for you guys. Vertebrate animals may also convert light directly into metabolic energy through the help of melanin. In a review titled "Melanin Directly Converts Light for Vertebrate Metabolic Use, Heuristic Thoughts on Birds and Dark Human Beings." This was from Jeffrey Goodman and Dana Berkovich, offer a thought-provoking reflection on this topic, the abstract of which is well worth reading in its entirety.
Yeah,
Let's share this.
Here's a snippet.
So exactly what I was hinting at, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pigments serve many visible or visual animal functions, like your hair, your skin, your feathers, scales, things like that.
The one melanin.
Yeah, it's absorbed across a UV visual spectrum, which is controversial. Why is it controversial? Any polymer or macrostructure of monomers
is melanin.
Yeah.
And its role derived from complex structural and physical chemical properties. And so...
Think about semiconductors. Think about
free radical scavenging. That's what we're saying. It's a very powerful pigment that protects us from damage.
Yeah.
You know, there's more to this, the skin color. Why do we think fair-skinned people get all wrinkled up and dark-skinned people don't?
Not as easily, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So clinicians and researchers are well acquainted with melanin in skin and the ocular pathologies, and now increasingly are with internal melanized pathology-associated sites not obviously subject to light radiation. So, well, this goes on and on.
Well, they're saying both
types of sites, the findings are positive and negative neuromelanin effects in Parkinson's. And I mentioned that to Nico during the break, that they found that the substantia nigra, the decrease in this pigment in the brain is tied to neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And so this is something else that I want to share. A little-known avian anatomical conundrum may help resolve melanin's paradoxes, one of the many unique adaptations to flight.
The pectin. The
pectin, a strange intraocular organ with unresolved functions. So this is an organ that we're not real aware of what it does, is that it's much enlarged and heavily melanized in birds fighting gravity, hypoxia, thirst, and hunger during long-distance, frequently sub-zero, non-stop migrations.
Yeah, because if they're flying up in, at high altitude, it's cold up there. So their body has adapted.
That's wild. Yeah. So this pectin, this little organ, may help cope with energy and nutrient needs under extreme conditions by a marginal but critical melanin-initiated conversion of light to metabolic energy coupled to local metabolic recycling.
Yeah, it's similar. It says in Central Africa, the reduced body hair and melanin increase may also have led to the changes for the people there.
They call it photomelanoma-metabolism, which, though small scale per unit body area in total, may have enabled a sharply increased development of the energy-hungry cortex and enhanced human survival generally. So animals' inability to utilize light energy directly has been traditionally assumed, like that we had to eat plants to get light energy. But melanin and the pectin may have unexpected lessons also for human physiology and medicine. And this is what Jack Kruse has been preaching about recently, is the fact that we have melanopsin receptors in our skin cells, which means is why we can literally eat light. We eat light through our eyes and through our skin.
Well, you can feel it. You spend 20 minutes in the sun and you can really feel the difference. It does recharge you. It does a lot of things probably that we don't even know. It says here over 200 different things. So you can dig this up at Green Med Info.
And there's some links to about 4 or 5 other articles. Also follow Dr. Jack Kruse. He gives a lot of great information on what's really going on with the clocks in our eyes and the importance of the melanin and the sun's stimulation to our skin and our eyes.
Yeah, and I'll drop this into the next newsletter so you can read all about it yourself. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes, folks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, oil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated folic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
No matter what kind of trader you are, 2018 is a great time to try out a subscription to Tom O'Brien's Gold Report. Whether you just plan on diversifying your portfolio with some exposure to gold and gold mining equities, or you're a gold bull that sees 2018 as the year of commodities, now is a great time to sign up for the Gold Report. Tom O'Brien publishes his Gold Report every Monday morning before the market opens and covers a variety of topics including gold, silver, platinum, copper, the XAU and HUI, the dollar, bonds, South African rand, as well as more than 20 of the most actively traded mining equities. Start your 2018 off with a bang and sign up for the Gold Report today. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. For all the details and to start your subscription right now, visit the front page of TFNN.com and you'll find the Gold Report under Investment Newsletters. David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
And welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. You know, foods that prevent inflammation also enhance your brain function. And we know this is true because unrelenting low-grade inflammation is just a sign that you're simmering. And we really need to realize that many of this crosses the blood-brain barrier. The chronic inflammation that we see today often leads to the chronic illnesses and health conditions, which include obesity, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and immune-mediated conditions. And it plays a significant role in 7 of the top leading causes of death.
Yeah, you know, inflammation is a normal part of your body's response to the environment, and it's there to protect you from foreign invaders.
But when it doesn't get the signal that it's time to quit.
That's it. And, you know, we have this long-term inflammation that just goes on, and this comes from the electrical EMPs, it comes from the food that we eat, it comes from fast food, certainly, it comes from the carbohydrates that we eat, it comes from the medicine that we take.
That's
it comes
right.
from the injections that we get from our doctor.
It
all
comes
these
from
things,
our emotions.
And it comes from our emotions, and it comes from even too much sunlight, maybe. So.
Yeah, there's so many things that can happen. But many times inflammation starts in your gut, folks. And your intestines are a large and complex organ designed to pass nutrients to your body and gather waste to pass from your body. And what you eat has a considerable effect on the permeability of your intestines. So really, when you start to see your doctors telling you that you've got some elevated inflammation numbers, believe that the gut is involved and get working on it. It's a very important step to take, and I myself have struggled with this periodically.
When we talk about the gut, we're really talking about the stomach and the intestines, and the intestines and the stomach all have these walls where things can move through.
Well, we're one big tube, really. From the mouth to the anus.
That's true.
Exactly. So,
but there is a thing going on there in your intestines when things are being absorbed, and if you're sending things in there that are high and are inflammatory, and they get absorbed into the blood, then your blood is inflammatory.
Well, it's also not always, Nico, that the thing that you're eating is inflamed. It's you've already inflamed it, and you've loosened the junctions.
Right.
And so then any food can escape those junctions, and then then the immune system says, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be in."
There's a little chunk in there, and all of a sudden your body has to attack it.
Yeah, and the body says, "Wait a minute, what's this? This isn't supposed to be out here in the bloodstream." Yeah. And that's where the problem happens.
And that's very hard working for your body. Just think of it, a foreign object in your bloodstream, in your body, that it's being attacked. This has got to be a slow process. I mean,
Why
it happens fast.
Why do you think we've seen this rise of so-called autoimmune disorders? Yeah. It's basically tied to the leaky gut. The body is doing a desperate job to clean up invaders that aren't where they're supposed to be, because this leakage is a substantial driving force in the development of the chronic inflammation. And the degree of permeability in your gut is in a direct proportion to chemical mediators inside your intestines and in your bloodstream in real time. That means that you can affect permeability immediately with the choices you make. However, repeated damage reduces the ability of the intestines to respond properly.
And this is kind of what we see in our modern society. We're just continually having the onslaught of inflammation over and over again. And what happens the last 20 years of your life is not very pleasant.
Yeah, and you can end up, having impaired ability to absorb nutrients. You've got an overburdened immune system, and ultimately, this inflammation makes its way to the brain because recent research has found those with inflammatory markers in their 50s experienced a reduction in the size of their brains 24 years later.
And things like this, I was telling you during the break about my friend Rick. Now, Rick is a lifetime friend of mine.
Yes.
I met him in 1965. So we've known each other a long time, played music together, we're in a band together. He inspired me to write music. I just love the guy dearly. And we've been palling around together for, ever since then.
Making music and everything.
So about 3 or 4 years ago, he had an accident where he broke his ankle. And ever since then, he started, the rehab, and it started moving slower. He began gaining weight. Now, Rick never really cared about food, he's in the medical profession, never really cared about what he put in his mouth. He's a pretty heavy drinker. So what's happened now, his mobility is really impaired, and he's shuffling. And a couple of weeks ago, he came over to the house. He says, well, he thinks I might have Parkinson's. They're doing all kinds of tests. And then he came back the week later and said, well, somebody said I had maybe onset diabetes.
So now he's into the whole...
But now I see the progression. I mean, I see him just about every week or every 2 weeks, and I can see differences when I see him.
You got to remind him to get back in the sun, like he said.
Yeah, he's the one that told me that, But this is heartbreaking, and how fast the deterioration, because you told me during the break that when you start shuffling, you're shuffling yourself out the door.
Well, there's some school of thought.
Yeah, and I can see it happening in front of me.
That the gait is very predictive of longevity.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he asked me a couple of weeks ago, he says, well, if I'm changing my diet, remember, I'm going to be sticking it in a microwave, whatever it is, because that's what I do. He says, what can I get? And, I told him some things to get, but it's a sad situation where
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's and I'm
but
sorry
I
for
like
him
your
and his
idea of
family.
going back and telling him to get out in the sun.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
listen, guys, let's go down this, because believe it or not, we are an inflammation nation. Inflammation we're simmering in inflammation based on the choices that we've made. So we talked about the fact that those of us in our 50s that are having inflammation may experience a smaller brain volume, but there is actually a study that provides more evidence that systemic inflammation may have lifelong effects on your health. And they took samples from a large community and analyzed 5 inflammatory markers at the start of the study, and then again 24 years later. And those markers included levels of fibrinogen, albumin, white cell count, factor VIII, and the von Willebrand factor. They didn't say C-reactive protein. Interesting. Using these levels, the researchers created a composite score they could compare against other participants and take MRI images. And what they found, when the group with 3 or more elevated markers was compared against the group without any elevations, they found the group with the higher inflammation experienced a 5% reduction in brain volume. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to lose any of my brain volume.
Yeah, brain areas with reduced volume here in the hippocampus and other areas associated with the development of Alzheimer's disease. Those with higher levels of inflammation also performed poorer in a memory test given to the participants.
So there's actually several factors that affect the degree of inflammation you may experience in your body and in your brain. And when you address these factors, you may be able to reduce these long-term effects, folks, of inflammation, including the cognitive decline, the cancer, immune diseases, type 2. And so let's talk about some of these things, and the number one here is, look at this precious little sunshine snoozing away, and that's what we all need to do, like a baby. Sleep clears your mind and detoxifies your brain.
Yeah, this is really how important sleep is, and it seems like we're getting less and less of it.
Like that book, Lights Out, T.S. Wiley. I'm telling you guys, this is fascinating stuff.
Achieving quality sleep may be one of the most important factors in developing optimal health. A lack of sleep can have many ramifications ranging from short-term to lifelong. Research has found sleep loss for just one night may increase inflammation response to your body, and a good night's sleep can reduce your risk of heart disease and autoimmune disorders.
Yeah, because that's what they found, that we have subclinical shifts in these, what we call these cytokines, which are these storms of perhaps, white blood cells and these basal inflammatory cytokines. They've been noted in those whose sleep was restricted between 25 and 50% of normal. Not getting good sleep means you're going to be inflamed. Let's continue this conversation when we get back. Make sure and pick up some of your Primal Edge so you can stay healthy with our one-shot wonder of vitamins, minerals,
and everything else. We'll be right back.
You don't buy into that nonsense, do you? You know you can't time the markets. I didn't. And in 2006, I set out on a mission to do just that. I began by surrounding myself with the greats like Tom O'Brien, Larry Pesavento, David White, and Basil Chapman. I read countless books and even looked to the moon and planets for answers. Now, we both know that trading is 80% mental. So I learned the exact tools that Tony Robbins uses to overcome fear. I'm Steve Rhodes, author of Mastering Probability. And last March, the folks at Timers Digest began tracking my newsletter signals, which through January 18, 2018, placed me as the #1 gold timer for that exact time frame. Now, I can't officially be recognized until Timers Digest has a full year of signals, but clearly I've learned how to time the markets, and I'd like to teach you how to do that as well. Subscribers to Mastering Probability gain access to my live and archive workshops where I show you the exact same patterns that earned me this #1 ranking. If you're looking for great market calls and an education, sign up for Mastering Probability today at TFNN.com.
Hi folks, Tom O'Brien here. If you'd like to get my daily newsletter, Market Insights, then now is a great time to sign up for a 30-day free trial. Every morning by 9:30, I send out my morning letter to subscribers with market commentary on a variety of markets, currencies, and commodities to keep investors up to date on the day's trading action. Included in Market Insights are specific buy and sell recommendations for stocks, ETFs, and even options, with stops and price targets included for every trade in my newsletter. If you'd like to try my newsletter risk-free for 30 days, then head over to the front page of TFNN and you'll find Market Insights under Trading Newsletters. I use my years of trading experience to bisect and dissect the market every morning and give my subscribers the most important information they need to know for the day ahead. I even issue afternoon updates for my subscribers whenever warranted with important market action. I'm always scouring the market for the next great trading opportunity. Sign up for your 30-day free trial to my daily newsletter, Market Insights, today by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Wow! Go get 'em, folks.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Welcome back. Your body works in optimal in moderation. In other words, too much sleep, too little sleep, too much exercise, too little exercise, too much sun,
it's
too
the
little
Goldilocks
sun.
effect.
It's the Goldilocks effect. So being consistent really matters when we're talking about inflammation. And really what this article is talking about, we're really talking about food.
Yeah.
We're talking about the response of food to your body. And there's a lot of different types of food that is anti-inflammatory. So I want to bring that to the attention, because if you're going to reduce inflammation by using these other things like sleep and exercise like that, you don't overdo it. And the same with food. You can't overdo it with the food. But there is certain food that is anti-inflammatory.
That's right, because today's modern diet may provide beneficial protection from micro and macro nutrient deficiencies or an overabundance of calories and the macronutrients that compose our diet. They may all lead to increased inflammation, reduced control of infection, increased risk of cancer, and increased risk for allergy and autoinflammatory disease.
Yeah.
You know, so there's still a lot of stuff going on. Foods that increase the inflammatory response in your body include sugar, high fructose corn syrup, artificial trans fats, processed vegetable and seed oils. Does that sound like something we've been talking about for years?
Yeah, sure.
Refined carbohydrates, excessive alcohol, processed meats, and your oxidized omega-3 fats, which include fish oils that may not be prepared properly.
Yeah, and also when you're talking about food, and we're talking about salmon, you know, the salmon...
Anti-inflammatory.
Yeah,
anti-inflammatory. Help reduce
anti-inflammatory.
the inflammatory markers.
Yeah, and salmon, right now, I mean, it's hard to find really wild salmon anymore. Most of it's farmed. It's even farmed in the seas, which is still no good. So the author here suggests that eating sardines, herring, mackerel, anchovies, things like that are better choices now, and I agree. So we're really talking about the paleo-style diet, the ketogenic-style diet, the ancestral-style diet that's anti-inflammatory.
That's right, because one of the most powerful tools to fight inflammation does not come from a pharmacy. It comes from your grocery store. And, you know, we also, we want to have those little high ORAC, high pigment fruits and vegetables, well placed, not overdone. You know?
If it's white, don't eat it.
Yeah. Well, except that, you know...
Well, there are
like
some starches.
You know, like Jeff says that, Jeff Primack, my Qigong food healing teacher, taught us that in fruits and vegetables, when it comes to looking for phytochemicals,
it's in
where the white stuff is, like, you know, in the center of the strawberry, where the white is, you know, almost any food or vegetable where you see white fuzzy hairs.
Yeah, and those are the connecting tissues, in a sense, of the fruits, you know, so that's what holds it all together and hold you together. So look for pigmented fruits and vegetables.
Right. Well, the color will. That's why we look about the salmon.
Exactly.
The higher the pigments, the more antioxidants and phytochemicals that are going to be there that are going to help, you know. So even keep it in mind that while fish and all of these things are loaded with antioxidants, we also have some of the plant-sourced ones, you know, and we have nuts and seeds that are really good for us. So we can use our food as a tool or a weapon. What are you going to do? Because the choice is really up to you and what you choose to do so that you can stay uninflamed and avoid the ravages of chronic disease.
Uninflamed. I like that.
Uninflamed.
So, yeah, it's pretty easy these days to get off track because there's many things that are being advertised that are unhealthy, and that comes with food, but also other things. But if we're talking about food, we need anti-inflammatory foods, so stick with what you know works for you. Grass-fed meats, wild fish and shellfish, things like that.
I think shellfish, you know, that's really what I've learned a lot from Dr. Jack Kruse. Whereas, you know, but see, we could get on both sides of the fence. Nora talks about don't eat certain things out of the, certain things out of the ocean, and yet Jack Kruse is saying these guys are survivors, and they've got some of the most nutrient dense. It was the oysters and the mollusks and the clams that allowed us to grow our brain.
I agree.
So I'm a big fan of increased seafood to get an epi-paleo diet.
You betcha.
We'll see you next show.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Basil Chapman has just announced that on Tuesday, April 3rd at 6 p.m., he'll be hosting a special 90-minute webinar for all of his subscribers titled The Power of the Fourth Highest Peak, the Peak D in the Chapman Wave. During this 90-minute live webinar, Basil will be discussing how to use the fourth highest peak, the Peak D, as a heads-up for either a directional reversal of consequence or a momentary pit stop for further gains in the Chapman Wave. He'll also be going over what the weekly and monthly implications are for the key indices with their peak Ds and even peak Es, together with the H pattern in the Chapman Wave that he's been following for weeks with his subscribers. Now is a perfect time to sign up for Basil's daily trading service, The Opening Call, while gaining access to the April 3rd live online webinar. Remember, all new subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. For all the details and to sign up today for Basil's Opening Call, visit the front page of TFNN.com.